Liam swatted away the thermos I offered him. "I've been forced to marry you. Did you really think I would ever fall in love with you?" That video went viral, revealing that the newly emerged superstar had been coerced into marriage. I felt like gum stuck to a shoe. After our film shoot that night, everyone avoided me because I was still bound to a tree. At dawn, I was finally released. But as I navigated my way back in the darkness, I slipped off a cliff. When I regained consciousness, I found myself 4 years in the past, meeting someone who openly cared for me. Liam was displeased, his sorrowful voice reverberating through the hall. I froze under his intense gaze. Turning to face him, I saw Liam bent over, glaring angrily. After a few moments, he clenched his teeth and said, "Emma, can you show some respect?" Mechanically, I bent over, my mind racing. It was Liam to say goodbye to Henry's body. The host's voice echoed in my ears. It was my grandfather's funeral. What was happening? Didn't I just fall off a cliff? Memories of the funeral flooded back. Liam hadn't spoken to me for days. Someone grabbed my wrist, and Liam leaned in, mocking me. "Spacing out at your grandfather's funeral? Can't even pretend to care now that he's gone." The pain and warmth in my wrist made me realize that everything happening now was real. I had been reborn. Taking 3 deep breaths, I freed my hand and stepped aside, creating some distance between us. I bowed earnestly 3 more Liams. "Grandpa, I'm sorry. I don't have the courage to marry Liam again," I said as we stood on the funeral home steps, waiting for Liam's parents. The early spring sun was gentle, and the fear and bitterness I felt before my death seemed like a distant memory. "Emma, you really are fearless, huh?" Liam's cold voice came from the side. I turned to see the man who had been in my heart since adolescence. Compared to his previously icy demeanor, he seemed somewhat softer now. Despite knowing him for so many years, I still couldn't understand why he despised me so much. My grandpa had wanted me to marry Liam. "Are you pleased with yourself?" he sneered. "Are you?" I interrupted him. "No need," I replied. His brow furrowed. That night in the woods had been so cold. The pain in my belly felt like icy daggers stabbing my temples. The next day, when I was rescued, my legs were numb and couldn't support me while waiting for blood to return. My mind replayed the conversation where our secret marriage was exposed. I finally understood. Liam was like a block of ice. I couldn't melt him. "I'm saying we won't get married," I declared, looking him straight in the eye. "Liam, I won't chase after you anymore. I'll find a new place and move out soon." He took a sudden step toward me. "Emma, what are you up to?" "For both our sakes, I'll stay away from you as much as possible." Liam was momentarily stunned before his lips curled into a mocking smile, playing hard to get. I shook my head, but before I could respond, Liam's parents approached quickly. Their eyes were still red as they frequently glanced toward the farewell hall. In the end, they sighed and waved us over. "Let's go. We'll take you back." In the car, Liam's mom poked my face and turned to him. "How many Liams do I have to tell you to take good care of Emma? She's lost so much weight recently." Liam stared out the window, deep in thought. I grabbed his mother's hand. "I'm not losing weight, and it has nothing to do with him." She ignored me and patted Liam's shoulder. "I'm talking to you, huh?" Liam turned back to look at us. "Be nicer to your future wife," I advised, noticing his impatience. I quickly intervened. "I won't marry Liam." She was shocked. "Why not?" I glanced at Liam, who seemed angrier for some reason. "It's just freedom to love, right? He doesn't like me and I don't like him. We won't be happy." She looked skeptical. "After all, even the family dog knew I liked Liam. Did you guys fight?" No, I replied. "You've been living together for years. You know each other well. Give it a try." "No need to try," I insisted. In my past life, I had exhausted every effort. Suddenly, there was a loud bang in the front seat as Liam threw a water bottle into the glove box. We were both juniors in college, and Liam and I were starting to audition. For convenience, his parents had rented a small 2-bedroom apartment near the school for us. Since I had already lived with his family for years, he didn't refuse when they suggested we move in together. We lived there for 2 years and got married during that Liam. Compared to the fancy apartment Liam bought later, that rental felt more like home. At least back then, we still ate meals together often. Remembering something, I pulled out my phone, The online shopping cart was filled with housewares I hadn't had the chance to order during this Liam-a-leen. We had just rented the place, and I was eager to make it homier. Now, it seemed unnecessary. I emptied the cart and looked to the driver. "Uncle, let me off at the next intersection. I need to visit a friend." While waiting, I had scrolled through Twitter and saw someone in a neighboring dorm had a house for rent near the school. I messaged her and arranged to see it that afternoon. At the street corner, I saw a familiar yet distant classmate. "Lily, over here!" She waved and casually linked her arm through mine, a gesture that felt nostalgic. After years of struggling in the entertainment industry, I had forgotten what it felt like to walk arm in arm with a friend. "Why the daydreaming? I'm talking to you," she teased, shaking my arm. "What were you saying?" I asked. "The house belongs to my brother. We'd better go tell him." On the way, my mind was flooded with memories from my past life. By the Liam, I snapped back to reality. We were already greeted by laughter and cheers. "You actually didn't bet on Jason? A month of hot pot is mine." Jason's arm muscles had improved lately. Lily excitedly dragged me toward another match. "How many meals are we betting this Liam? Lily's here." The crowd parted. I looked up to see a man leaning casually against the corner post of the boxing ring, adjusting his gloves slowly. When he noticed us, he smirked mischievously. His audacious gaze made me instinctively want to look away. Sensing my discomfort, he finally turned to Lily. "Why aren't you in school? What are you doing here?" Again, Lily dragged me to the edge of the boxing ring. "You've been kicked out of your house, so you must be short on money, right? I rented out that small apartment upstairs for you." "Who told you to?" Before he could finish, Lily pushed me forward. "Your tenant," she insisted. Thinking about Jason earlier, I feared he might not want to rent out his place and that Lily could be making this decision on her own. So I waved my hand. "If it's not convenient for you, "It is," he blurted out. "Can I see the place today?" Then Jason stood up straight, shook his wrists and ankles, and started warming up. "You can, but do you want to place a bet first?" Lily motioned to a small table nearby. "It's a friendly match within their club. Bet on the right person, and you'll win something big." I was about to refuse, but Lily yanked me over to the table. Holding the sticky note in my hand, I glanced back at the boxing ring and unexpectedly locked eyes with Jason again. He smiled and mouthed 2 words. "Bet on me." My face felt a bit warm. In my past life, Emma only had eyes for Liam. Even in a room full of handsome guys, she never noticed anyone else. This was the first Liam I realized that good looks are truly pleasing to both the eyes and the heart. I couldn't help but smile and gave him an okay gesture before tossing the slip with my name into the box labeled Jason. This was my first Liam watching a live boxing match. All my senses were on high alert with every move the fighters made. While the men sparred in the ring, the crowd below was just as animated. Lily and I got so excited that our clenched hands gripped tighter and tighter. Finally, when Jason's fist swiftly landed on his opponent's jaw again, the referee yelled, "Stop!" Lily squealed and leaned into my ear. To be honest, only when I see my brother boxing can I ignore his usual bossiness and admit he's super handsome. Following her words, I looked toward the ring. Jason had already removed his headgear, his hair slightly messy and sweat dripping from his forehead. Even like this, he was strikingly handsome, full of vitality and charisma. The men around had already gathered at the ring, chatting away. "Jason, have you been secretly practicing butterfly steps lately? Were you guys just trading blows in the second half?" Jason absentmindedly fiddled with his gloves, nodding perfunctorily as if to satisfy his buddies. Suddenly he turned and looked over, his eyes glinting with pride. He mouthed silently, "1." That look felt like those words were meant just for me. It must be my imagination. Lily cheerfully held onto my arm, excited that we were able to score free food once again that day. Her joy was infectious, and I found myself laughing along with her. Then I gently pulled her aside and said, "You guys go ahead and eat. Can I check out the apartment by myself? Let's have a meal together first, and then I'll take a look at the place," I suggested. "And I can have my brother drive you back." No, I don't know anyone," she replied. "You'll get to know them after we've had a meal." "Forget it," I began to say, but before I could finish, a male voice interrupted from behind us. Jason had somehow appeared, and talking to him made me feel inexplicably nervous. "I don't want to go," I admitted, not being in the mood for a group meal. If it's okay, can I check out the apartment by myself? Don't worry, I won't mess with anything. Come on, let's eat, Jason insisted. Please, Lily pleaded, shaking my arm. The next moment, Jason grabbed her by her hoodie, making her step back. Lily shook free and glared at her brother. What are you doing, Jason? She asked, looking at him lazily. She said she didn't want to go. Why are you being so noisy? I just wanted to take Emma for some good food, Jason responded thoughtfully. He paused for a moment at the name Emma, then chuckled softly. He hooked his arm around Lily's neck and began to walk away, but turned back to me. Give me 2 minutes. When they returned, Jason moved to a nearby table to talk with some of his friends. Lily, holding her phone and grinning from ear to ear, looped her arm through mine and pointed to the door. Let's go check out the place. I was about to ask what Jason had told her when I heard teasing from the nearby table. Jason quickly glanced our way and shouted for them to be quiet, but strange looks kept coming our direction. Are these people okay? The apartment is indeed in a prime location, just a 15-minute walk to the school at most, I thought. At the door, I noticed it had a password lock, so I turned my back, waiting for Jason to input the code. Lily turned away with me, and I asked, puzzled, "What are you doing?" She puckered her lips and said sarcastically, "My own brother has never let me know his house password. Imagine if something happened to him. I wouldn't even be able to get in to clean up." Just as she finished, Jason grabbed the back of her neck, making her back down immediately. "But my brother is so healthy. Nothing will happen. I have to respect his privacy, right?" In my past life, I was only casual friends with Lily and didn't know her well. I had no idea she had such a quirky personality. Jason chuckled at her words and then nodded towards the door. "Go in, Emma." I looked around the apartment and saw that it had a good layout for a one-bedroom place, but the interior felt somewhat cold and stark, with no colors except varying shades of gray and pure black. Noticing my eyes wandering between the sofa and the floor-to-ceiling curtains, Jason asked, "Don't like it?" I quickly waved my hand. No, it's great. Based on the reasonable rent he offered, how could I not be satisfied? Jason was silent for a few seconds before asking, "When are you moving in? I'll pick you up." "No need," I replied. "I thought about it. There are still things at school the next couple of days, so I can probably move in around the weekend. I'll call a cab myself." He didn't say anything further. Instead, he pulled out his contact information and handed it to me. "All right, we'll sign the contract when you move in." "Let's sign it now," I suggested. Jason was taken aback. "It's not convenient right now." "No, you'll just have to wait a bit." He glanced at his watch and left. I nodded as Jason rushed out, then came back in 2 seconds to pull Lily away. Left alone, I felt a bit bored since I hadn't moved in yet. It didn't feel right to snoop around, so I went to the balcony. Leaning on the railing, I watched people coming and going below. I feel like crying. It's so good to be alive again, to be reborn at a Liam when everything can be fixed. As my eyes began to tear up, a fast-running figure dashed into the building. Jason soon appeared, out of breath, waving a paper in his hand with a smile. "Got it. Let's sign the contract." I was stunned for a couple of seconds. This landlord seems a bit too eager. We agreed on the moving date, and I transferred the deposit to Jason. My heart finally settled down. I had taken the first step away from Liam. The enthusiastic landlord insisted on driving me home. Outside the complex, I closed the car door and said to Jason through the rolled-down window, "Thanks for the ride." He smiled. "No problem. See you, Emma." This guy seemed to love smiling. Every Liam he spoke, the corners of his lips curled up, making you feel good without knowing why. A complete opposite of Liam. As soon as I started thinking about the comparison, I spotted a familiar figure sitting by the flower bed. It was Liam. From a distance, under the dim streetlights, I couldn't see his expression. Walking over, I saw he was empty-handed, not like he was out to buy anything, and asked curiously, "What are you doing here?" After a while with no reply, not wanting to feel awkward, I turned to leave, but my arm was suddenly grabbed. He lifted his eyelids. Who was that guy? My new landlord Liam suddenly stood up. "Are you really moving out, Emma?" "You sure are. When Grandpa was alive, you pretended to be all sweet to him. Now that he's just passed, you're not only not sad, but also breaking your promise." I was speechless. The one who loved me the most had passed away. and I was in deep pain. In those past years, whenever I felt extreme sadness from my messy situation with Liam, I'd always go to Grandpa's grave for some one-sided communication. I gradually accepted Grandpa's passing and began to believe he was still with me in a different way. But these emotional changes were something Liam, with our 4-year Liam difference, couldn't understand. I didn't explain further. I just said, it's not appropriate for us to live together anymore. What's inappropriate? You've been living in my house for years. It was different with uncle and aunt around, but just the two of us will lead to misunderstandings. Liam repeated, then sneered. Emma, weren't all the misunderstandings about us caused by you? I bowed my head. Indeed, that was true because I liked Liam. I chased his grades in high school, followed him to drama school and college, and even entered an acting major I wasn't interested in just to be close to him. People joked that Liam brought his little wife to school. He probably never outright rejected me, maybe out of courtesy, but in his heart, he must have found me annoying. I'm sorry, I won't do it anymore. I'll move out as soon as possible. Liam grabbed my shoulders roughly. Emma, playing hard to get won't work on me. I'm not playing games. I said last week I overheard Linda talking to you about being reborn. I can't remember conversations from 4 years ago. Stop pretending. Liam exerted more force. She wasn't giving you tips on how to make me realize your importance by ignoring me. For a while, I tried to recall but couldn't. Back then, everyone saw how infatuated I was and had a few laughs and tips to give me. I never took them seriously. Let go. It hurts. I wriggled, and Liam released his grip. I shrugged my shoulders and said sincerely, Liam, liking you is too exhausting. I give up. Though this life might not repeat the last, I can't disregard the real pain I once experienced. Forcing a smile, I added, Really? Seeing his cold expression, I didn't finish. He walked away in long strides. After he left, I completed my thoughts. You can marry the girl you like, and I'll live a truly happy life. The living room was pitch black, and Liam's bedroom door was shut. I moved quietly and quickly took a shower. Just as I lay down, a message from Jason popped up. By the way, the current code for the house is 202-20712. I paused. 0712 is Liam's birthday. What a coincidence. They don't know each other, so it must just be a coincidence. Jason probably chose that date because it's special to him, but I don't want to think of Liam every Liam I unlock the door. After considering it, I messaged, Can I change the code after I move in? He replied instantly, Of course, for security, you should. The message box showed him typing for a while, but nothing more came through. I sent an emoji and turned off my phone, preparing to sleep. With too much on my mind, I couldn't fall asleep despite tossing and turning for a while. I remembered that night in the woods. By then, Liam had starred in 2 hit romantic dramas and 1 highly rated serious drama. He was hailed as a promising new top star by the media, and more scripts were being offered to him. I saw him less and less. So, when his agent brought an unlikable villain role, I didn't refuse. The male lead was Liam. For years, he shot films without a single scandal involving an actress. Considering both of our career paths, I didn't see anything wrong with a hidden marriage. On set that day, I noticed Liam engaging with the leading actress. I didn't intend to intrude, but as I brought over some soup, I couldn't resist asking, What were you and Laura discussing today? You both seemed so happy. He appeared indifferent, jealous, of course. I was envious too, but I feared Liam might accuse me of mistrusting him, so I chose not to reveal my feelings. Instead, I shook my head and smiled. I know you always handle things properly. I believe in you, I said, handing him the thermos. Mom spent a lot of Liam making this soup and specially sent it over. You should give it a try. Before I could finish speaking, Liam knocked the thermos over, causing it to roll aside. Now you're using Mom to pressure me too, Emma? Some Liams, I feel like you're more of a parent to me than anything else. So, what does that make me? His words left me stunned. The elders in the family had always treated me well, but it was because I forced myself to communicate politely. You know they pity me, Liam sneered. Good, so you know. Then he leaned in and whispered in my ear, They pitied you and forced me to marry you. What are you hoping? I might actually fall in love with you now. It was noon. The sun was shining brightly, yet his words left me feeling utterly cold. After Liam left, I picked up the now dirty thermos with trembling hands and hugged it, unable to hold back my tears. With no scene scheduled for the afternoon, I took some Liam alone in a secluded spot to compose myself. Upon returning to the set's lounge, my agent grabbed me. "Why didn't you tell me you married Liam?" she asked, scrolling through her phone. Something had happened. The video on the screen was shaky, but clearly showed Liam and me, along with our entire conversation. Nunai numbly scrolled through the comments. What kind of background does she have to force our idol to marry her? Bitch is even acting wrong. What's she crying about? Your fate will be like that thermos discarded here. I wiped my face and handed the phone back to my agent. I'm going to find Liam. I already did, she replied. Liam said we don't need to do anything. He'll handle it. No, I need to speak to him face to face. Liam is busy all afternoon. He's already filming. I stopped in my tracks, feeling my heart sink deeper. How could he remain so calm and unconcerned? During the evening's night shoot, from the moment I arrived until I was fully made up, I felt the staff's various gazes on me. Some pitiful, others disdainful, and a few outright contemptuous. Some even openly discussed me nearby. I thought I might get a chance to speak to Liam before the cameras rolled, but that never happened. I'd been tied to a tree for quite some Liam when he and the leading actress finally appeared. The ropes were unusually tight that day, and the rag in my mouth had a strong, foul smell. I felt like crying, but Liam acted as if nothing had happened, casually chatting and laughing with the lead actress. This scene was a continuation of the previous night's shoot. As the villainous supporting character, I had been captured by the leads and tied to the side while they joked about who first uncovered my plot. Their on-screen relationship grew, and ironically, it mirrored my real-life situation perfectly. I didn't even need to act. My bitterness and humiliation were genuine and overwhelming. The three of us performed well, and the scene was completed in one take. Before Liam left, he glanced at me with a frown, but said nothing as he walked away. The rag was shoved deeper into my mouth, and I groaned, signaling for the crew to untie me. However, they all pretended not to hear. By the Liam, I managed to wriggle the rank rag out with my tongue. The set had already emptied for the night. The mountains were especially cold, and the chill, combined with menstrual cramps pounding at my temples, made silent tears stream down my face as I finally understood. In one-sided love, neither Liam nor sincerity matters. I also decided I would divorce him once I returned. I don't know how much Liam passed before the set crew came to change the scene. Oh my God, what set are you from? How'd you end up tied here? A man helped untie me, and I stumbled into his arms. What is this? You're like ice. Come on, I'll take you back. I slumped, replying, No need. I'll rest here a bit on my own. They had to set the scene within a limited Liam to avoid penalties, and I didn't want to delay their work. The man draped his coat over me, then returned with a thermos cup. This is all I've got. Hope you don't mind. Warm yourself up. Thank you, I said, warming my hands and sipping slowly. You rest here. I'll get to work. Shout if you need help, and I'll take you back. I nodded. Once I felt less numb, I put the thermos and coat aside and quietly left. It was still dark, around 4 or 5 in the morning. My body felt weaker than I had anticipated, and I stumbled. When I opened my eyes again, I was in another life, a life where I never truly had a home. At 10, I was adopted from an orphanage. My adoptive mother asked me to call her aunt, not mom. She bluntly explained that her daughter had died of a severe illness, and her husband had an accident at work. Adopting me was her way to have something to live for. She sent me to good schools, bought me new clothes, but always treated me like a guest, polite and distant. We barely spoke beyond necessary communication. During those days, my best friend was the old man next door, Henry. He would watch TV with me, share the latest stickers, eat snacks, and endlessly brag about his grandson Liam. From him, I learned that my aunt's husband and Liam's father both worked at the same chemical research institute. The families were always close. That night, both were on duty. While Liam's dad went out to grab a meal, there was an explosion in the high-pressure reactor. Auntie had an older daughter years ago, but she had a congenital heart disease and didn't live past the age of 5. After her husband had the accident, Auntie completely broke down, as if she had aged 20 years overnight. During that Grandpa was annoyed by Liam's parents criticizing his living habits. He considered moving out or finding a nursing home. After the incident, Grandpa directly rented the vacant apartment next to Auntie's place. On one hand, he gained his freedom. On the other, he could check in on Auntie. Liam's parents had nothing to say about this. I was just a kid back then, and even though I knew everything, there wasn't much I could do. Joyfully, I clumsily tried cooking for Auntie. She would smile and pat my head, but didn't eat much. I dragged her to the square to play, but she sat in a corner, zoning out at night and going to the bathroom. I could see light spilling from her room and hear her restless turning, feeling helpless. I asked Grandpa Q for advice. He sighed. "No way out, kiddo. The blow of losing close family back-to-back is a long and heavy one. You've done great already." Turns out, I hadn't done well enough. A year later, Auntie took her own life. She drank some highly toxic pesticide, leaving no room for rescue. When I got home from school and saw her, she was already gone. Later, Grandpa came over, covered my eyes, and took me to his place. He called Liam's parents to handle the aftermath. Then Henry took me to Liam's house. Henry spent a long Liam convincing his uncle and aunt to take me in, and that's how I got my second home after the orphanage. Liam's unfriendly attitude made me anxious, but remembering all the praise Grandpa had given him, I figured it must be because we weren't familiar yet. I was so well behaved. Surely once we got to know each other, we'd get along. I was wrong. Sniffling, I sat up and realized my pillow was soaked with tears. I calmed myself down, comforting my heart. "Emma, it's all right. Heaven's been kind, giving you another chance at life. You'll be happy for sure." Pulling myself together, I grabbed my phone to check the Liam and saw Jason had sent a new message. There were 2 withdrawn messages, unsure of what he'd said, and the remaining one was from Emma. "My house says it's excited if you come live in it. I didn't have much stuff, so packing was easy. Liam was coming and going early the past few days, and we barely saw each other." That Saturday morning, I dragged my packed suitcase and 2 large bags to the living room, then went to clean the bedroom. As I turned back from wiping the nightstand, Liam stood at the door, startling me. He was staring at the now empty desk beside the bed. "I'll call for a ride once I'm done packing. Did you tell my parents?" "Not yet. I'll call them after I move today," I replied. Liam sneered. "Do you even have money for rent?" "Yes." "Where'd you get the money?" "We paid your tuition." Because I didn't like socializing, I started writing online years ago, making some money here and there. Every penny they spent on me, I kept a meticulous record of. I even had a bank account specifically for repayment, planning to save enough to pay Liam's parents back all at once. Not wanting to explain further, I vaguely said, "I will pay Uncle and Aunt back." This made Liam angry. "So you're cutting ties with my family now?" "No, just with you. You all are my family and always will be." Liam grew quiet, realizing he had nothing more to add. I got ready to rinse the rag. As I walked past him, he asked, "Emma, why do you seem so different?" "Because I actually died once," I replied. I forced a smile. Maybe God touched my head and awakened me. The room was nearly spotless when an unfamiliar number called before I could respond. The voice on the line said, "Emma, everything is packed. I'm here to pick you up." Realizing it was Jason, I couldn't help but smile. "No need," I said. "I'll take a cab." "But I'm already outside your complex," he insisted, sounding very enthusiastic. "Which building and floor? I'll help with your bags," he offered, considering how difficult it would be to carry all my belongings to the gate. I agreed. "All right, but you don't need to come upstairs. Just wait by Building 3, Unit 1. I'll be downstairs in 10 minutes. After hanging up, I knocked on Liam's slightly ajar bedroom door. "Liam, I'm leaving. Take care and eat well." As expected, there was no response. Taking one last glance around the house, I pushed my bags into the elevator. It opened, and as I struggled with a large bag, it became lighter. It was Jason. I was stunned. I had mentioned 10 minutes because Building 3 was at the far end of our complex, and it would take some Liam to walk over. Getting here by the next elevator meant he must have rushed. Jason handed me my suitcase and took a bag in each hand, smiling and saying, "Let's go." Since my window faced this side, I instinctively looked up as we exited. To my surprise, I caught a brief glimpse of Liam before he turned away. "Liam, from now on, you're just my brother," I whispered inwardly. Jason was driving a stylish pickup truck, but my few belongings seemed too much for the large truck bed. He raised an eyebrow when I said, "I thought girls have a lot of stuff, so I borrowed a big ride." "Thanks," Jason replied lightly as we entered the main road. "Emma, you're too polite." "We're friends now. No need to keep thanking me," I responded with a smile, but remained silent. Growing up in foster care, being polite was how I survived. Seeing Jason, usually so tough, joke around so easily made me envious. Yet, I knew it was something I might never have. I noticed the traffic light had turned red when I heard Jason speak. Following his gaze, I saw a pink toy on the dashboard. I had been daydreaming, and my eyes had drifted to that pink spot. Do I like it? I wondered. Not really, I thought. I never had my own toys. So, whenever I see one, I just stare a bit longer. "So," I casually remarked, "it's pretty cute. This is my friend's car. It's probably his girlfriend's." "What's your favorite color?" Jason asked nonchalantly. We were just making small talk to pass the Liam, I thought. Light green, I guess. It's a mood booster. Maybe I was imagining it, but Jason seemed to sigh slightly as the light turned green. I didn't want to distract him while he was driving, so I remained quiet. When we arrived at the apartment, Jason was holding multiple bags. I entered the passcode, and opened the door. Turning the corner at the entryway, I was taken aback by how different everything looked since I last saw it. The floor-to-ceiling curtains were now a linen mint green, with a soft white sheer layer on top. The sofa matched the color, adorned with a few Mirandy-toned cushions. A white cashmere rug lay in front of the sofa, and there was a fresh bouquet on the coffee table. I walked into the bedroom a day later and found it completely transformed as well. The window seat, which used to be cluttered, was now tidy and covered with a plush mint green blanket, surrounded by unfamiliar stuffed animals. A new lamp stood on the nightstand, more decorative than functional. And there was even a new vanity set up. Jason spoke softly from behind me. "Welcome home, Emma." My eyes welled up. "Jason, how did you know what color I like? I guess you're smart, right?" Just then, Lily burst in, interrupting my thoughts. She proudly gestured around the room. "Do you like it?" I was relieved to realize it was Lily's idea. "It's great, thank you." "Once you're settled in, how about we eat here?" Lily tugged my arm. Jason shot her a look. "All you think about is food." "Yep, so what?" she retorted with a smirk and chuckle. I interjected, "Sure, we can have hot pot later." "Yay," Lily said, leaning in for a hug, but Jason pulled her back. "Do you ever stop?" Defiantly, she replied, "I won't let go. What are you going to do?" She turned to me. "Emma, I need to tell you." But couldn't finish as Jason covered her mouth and began dragging her out. "Emma, take your Liam settling in. We'll head out after," he said as they left. I sat on the couch, staring blankly for a long Liam. For the first Liam, someone had genuinely welcomed me into a home, even if it was just a rental. Despite the landlord merely being kind, I felt a small but real sense of happiness. The place was spotless, likely thanks to a cleaning service Jason had hired. I unpacked quickly and settled in. After eating the takeout I ordered, I called my aunt and uncle after their nap. "Hi, Auntie, are you busy?" "No, what's up?" "I found a new place and moved out," I informed them. "Just letting you know. Why did you and Liam have a fight? Or is the place uncomfortable?" "No, we're both adults now. It's not appropriate to live together." Auntie sighed. "Okay, how much is the rent?" "We'll cover it." "No need," I hurriedly responded. "I've been saving up from part-Liam jobs. I'm fine. Make sure to let us know if you need help." Not long after, a classmate texted me, "Emma, the new drama you were curious about is casting. There's a role perfect for you and Liam. Go for it." Looking at the flyer, I felt a mix of emotions. In my past life, I worked so hard to stand by Liam's side. "Thanks, but could you also send this to Liam?" I replied to my classmate. Before trying to sort out my thoughts, I realized I didn't like the politics and superficial relationships in the acting industry. I wasn't passionate about acting either. This Liam, I wouldn't pursue acting. Instead, I'd continue writing, something I had put on hold for acting. I wasn't sure if I'd succeed, but at least it wouldn't kill me, and I'd feel more at peace. I decided to follow my heart. Watching the curtains flutter in the breeze, I felt a newfound sense of freedom and peace. The next morning, I went out for a jog and was surprised to run into Jason in the elevator. "What are you doing here? Why are you up so early?" we both asked simultaneously. He pointed upstairs. "I live upstairs." "I thought the place was small, so my family bought a 2-bedroom upstairs," I explained. I paused for a second. "Is that what it's like to be rich?" He chuckled. "Used to be my life." "Didn't Lily tell you I got kicked out?" "Why?" "I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. Being a pro boxer doesn't count to a capitalist. Anything that doesn't make money fast is useless." As we chatted, we walked out of the building. I waved to Jason and was about to leave when he grabbed my hoodie, pulling me back. "Where are you going? Running here?" he asked, gesturing around the neighborhood. Jason fixed my hoodie and said, "Emma, you're adorable. Come, I'll take you to a better spot." Following him, I discovered a hidden park behind our neighborhood. Jason warmed up quickly, smirking. "Want a race?" "No way, you're a pro. I'm just jogging." He tilted his head. "Okay, I'll catch up with you later." 15 minutes in, I finally understood what he meant. I was halfway through my run when Jason lapped me. He turned and flashed a smile that said, "Aren't I great?" The third Liam he caught up, he was still breathing easily while I was exhausted. This is supposed to be professional level. This Liam, Jason didn't just run past me. Instead, he turned around about a meter ahead and started running backward, facing me. "Emma, how do you think I am at boxing?" I was too out of breath to reply. "Come on, tell me. What did you think of my match last Liam-y?" "Emma, why aren't you saying anything?" The vibration from my fitness tracker indicated I had finally reached my goal distance. I stopped, took a few seconds to catch my breath, and said, "Jason, what do you really want to say?" He kept jogging in place. "I have a state match next month. Want to come watch?" The sun was just rising, casting a hazy golden light on his smiling face, making it almost blinding. It must have been the sunlight that kept me from outright saying no. "What day?" When Jason stopped moving, his smile widened. "You're coming?" The genuine expectation in his eyes made me nod before my brain processed it. Jason took a quick step toward me but stopped just short of hugging me. Then, seemingly realizing something, he smiled sheepishly, quickly backed up, and resumed running. I didn't even finish my sentence. Drenched in sweat and exhausted, I went straight home to shower. Just as I stepped out, I saw a message from Jason. Besides the Liam and location, it also said Lily was coming too. That last bit of hesitation vanished, and I typed back smiling, "All right. Although my body feels 4 years younger, my mind bears the weight of those past years, and the liaming hasn't been ideal either. Frequent interruptions from notifications disrupted my writing, making it difficult to get back into the flow. It took me nearly 2 weeks to regain my rhythm. However, not having to juggle various shoots provided some much-needed downliam. Lily insists she has no grand aspirations and doesn't plan to break into the entertainment industry. She's content being a small influencer, earning some extra cash, which gives her plenty of free Liam. She often visited my place, either to watch Jason train or dragging me to her brother's club for social gatherings. Over Liam, I became closer with her siblings. One day, instead of going to school, I craved a pork chop meal from the second-floor dining hall. I messaged Lily, inviting her over that day. Unlike the usual playful, "got Liam for me" meme, she simply responded with "busy." I expressed my desire for the black pepper pork chop from the dining hall and mentioned that spending Liam with Lily had made me comfortable enough to vent online. After a long pause, she just replied, "Okay." I expected Lily to arrive quickly, but over an hour passed without her showing up. Starving, I grabbed my phone to send a message saying, "If you're busy, don't worry about it." Before I could finish, the doorbell rang. I rushed to open the door. "Wait, it's you, Jason," I said as he smiled and held up a bag with my pork chop meal. I was about to say more when the house phone rang. Worried it might be the professor I spoke with that morning, I quickly told Jason, "Come in, will you?" and hurried to the sofa. Seeing Liam's name on the screen made me hesitate. We hadn't spoken much at school lately, and he felt like a distant memory. I swiped to answer, ready to greet him, but Liam's angry voice blared, "Why didn't you come to the audition? What a blatant display of love. Why didn't you show up for that role I asked someone to help me get?" I'm not acting anymore, I responded after a brief silence. Liam raised his voice again. Emma, don't be stubborn. I'm not being stubborn. I seriously thought about it, and acting isn't for me. Liam, you keep it up. If you can't commit to anything, don't start it, he shouted before hanging up. I didn't understand why he was upset about me not tagging along. Shouldn't he be happy? Jason suddenly asked. No, I replied, taking the bag from him. Why are you delivering it? Who was that then? Lily. I told her about it. I mean, who was on the phone? Jason gave me the same intense look he had when we first met. Avoiding his gaze, I walked to the dining table with my meal. My brother. I didn't know you had a brother. There's a lot you don't know. Jason sat across from me and removed the lid from my meal. I'm leaving for training camp tomorrow, Emma. We won't see each other for over 2 weeks. And I won't have much phone Liam either. I didn't know how to respond, so I grabbed the tray, trying to pull it back. Jason, seemingly challenging me, wouldn't let go. Was that guy really your brother? I felt a bit annoyed and looked up. He was my husband in a past life. Okay, can I be the one in this life? I felt a jolt as Jason suddenly let the tray tip toward me. Faced with the pork chop, my heart raced, and I dared not look up. Jason sighed and said, I'm serious. You should go running later in the morning. It's too dark otherwise, and unsafe. No matter your work habits, eat regular meals, and always lock your door before bed. Power outages are rare here, but if one happens, call Lily to keep you company. Don't tough it out alone if you're scared. Seeing my silence, he got up. See you at the match. That pork chop must have had a new chef because I detected a hint of sweetness in the black pepper that day. Over the weekend, I visited my uncle and aunt's house, not expecting to see Liam there as well. I had barely greeted my aunt in the living room when Liam walked out of the bedroom looking unusually flushed. You have a fever, my aunt said. Without answering, he headed for the kitchen and hurriedly got up. Pushing Liam onto the sofa, she said, There's water by your bed. You're at 102 degrees Fahrenheit. Tell us what you need and don't wander around. She went to the kitchen to get water. I passed my audition, Liam's hoarse voice continued. I'll be on set mid-next month. Congrats. There's still one supporting role left. Do you want it? I don't want it, I cut him off. I'm serious. Acting is not for me. Liam frowned. You worked so hard before. Why quit now? I shook my head. Liam, this isn't quitting for me. It's a new beginning. What about me? His eyes showed emotions I couldn't decipher. What do you mean? Just then, my aunt returned with water and a fruit tray. I rushed over to take them, but when I turned back, Liam had already stood up, walking unsteadily back to his room. I suddenly realized that in my past life, the most I saw of Liam was his back. As he said, Jason was completely silent for more than half a month. Then, just a day before the match, he suddenly messaged, You there yet? At that moment, Lily and I had just checked into the hotel. I replied to him, and he went silent again. While Lily and I were taking the elevator down to find some food, I remembered Jason's instructions about my place. I nudged her shoulder and asked, Did you tell your brother I'm afraid of the dark? How would I know? He told me, she replied. How did he know when you moved? Didn't you invite us over for dinner? He said he noticed it. Lily shrugged. I'm not sure. Maybe it's some kind of radar. What radar? Lily leaned in mysteriously. Emma, I got a confidentiality fee. She then made a zipping motion across her lips. The next day at the venue, I was surprised to see fewer people than expected. Lily didn't seem fazed. It's always like this in this line of work until you peak. There's not much applause or money. She looked around. Today's crowd is actually good since it's the finals. So there have been other matches before? He said, You only needed to see the finals. Is he that confident he'd make it? Men and their blind confidence. I chuckled, and Lily suddenly lifted her phone. Hey, Emma, look at the camera. Before long, I saw Jason on stage with his coach, getting his gear on. I watched intently as the referee approached to check Jason's equipment. Jason glanced our way, his mouth seeming to move despite the mouthguard, making his words unclear. It felt like he wanted to say the same thing as when we first met. Pick me. My face began to warm as the first round match started. The announcer's voice boomed and my heart was in my throat as the clash of skill and strength unfolded. The crowd's excitement was palpable. Amid their cheers, I realized that the size of the crowd didn't matter. Passion itself was everything. After the 3 minutes ended, I saw the scores from the 5 judges on the big screen. Jason was in the lead back on stage. He was listening intently to his coach. 1 minute rest passed, and the announcer declared the second round. Though I didn't understand most of the referee's hand signals amidst the surrounding chatter and scores, it seemed Jason was evenly matched with his opponent. By the end of the 7th round, I heard a man behind me say confidently, "Jason's got this." After the 8th and final round, I straightened up in my seat. The referee stood between the fighters, holding their hands. I was recording everything, zooming in with my phone as the referee raised Jason's hand. He turned, smiling and mouthing, "1." In that moment, his question from the other day resurfaced in my mind. My heart fluttered almost instinctively and I lowered my phone. Lily was by my side, teasing, "Emma, why are you blushing at a boxing match?" Just then, my phone vibrated. It was a random message from Liam. "Where are you? Out of town? Is Lily's brother your new landlord? What's between you and him?" His questions puzzled me, especially remembering how Lily kept snapping photos. I checked Twitter and saw that Lily had posted several things, including a video captioned, "Emma cheering for Jason." The video showed me like a geek, fixated on the ring, constantly zooming in, then cutting to Jason's smiling face. Lily nudged my smiling face. "Look at you." Liam's message popped up again. "Your birthday soon? Plans." Lily noticed as well. I murmured a confirmation. All those years, including our past marriage, I always avoided troubling his family. I never wanted to celebrate. Liam and his parents picked up on this and stopped mentioning it. Only Grandpa insisted on taking me out, always making sure I made a wish. Liam never celebrated my birthday, so I stuck with my old line. "Don't want to." Liam's new response was firm. "No way. We must celebrate. Come to the usual spot or I'm not leaving." After that, he ignored any messages I sent. Lily went to the restroom, leaving me waiting outside the venue for her and Jason. Suddenly, something heavy landed around my neck. I looked down to see a gleaming gold medal. Jason walked around from behind me. "Long Liam, no see Emma. It really does feel like forever." I laughed, trying to take off the medal, but Jason grabbed my wrist. "It belongs to you. Why me?" I laughed softly when Jason mentioned a reward. I hadn't done anything special. Just having you there was enough. My heart raced in the quiet, and I couldn't even lift my head. Then Lily hurried over to save me, linking arms with me as she turned to Jason. "Emma's birthday is coming up. Let's throw a party," Lily suggested. Jason stepped between us, bending down to ask, "Next week, okay? Do you think a party would be too loud?" I used to believe it would be, but now I found myself craving that kind of excitement. Smiling, I responded, "I could give it a try." Jason looked at me with clear, eager eyes and lowered his voice. "I have something to tell you." Frustrated, I replied, "Damn it, I'm not blind or deaf." Nearby, Lily shouted, "Come to my birthday." The festivities surpassed my expectations since it was held at Jason's club. Everyone was involved, pointing to a stack of gift boxes in the corner. I asked Lily, "Are those just decorations?" She shook her head. "No, they're gifts from everyone for you." "We barely know each other. This feels too much," I protested. Lily laughed. "Silly, this is the first Liam my brother has gone all out for someone. Those are his friends. They know he values you, so they sent these gifts." She pulled me inside. "The gifts aren't expensive, but they'll show you how quirky their minds are. Come on. Is the cake ready? Is it in place?" Her voice was chaotic, but strangely comforting. Jason set down the drinks he was organizing and approached us. "Don't worry. We didn't set up any complicated rituals. Just make a wish, and then we can all have dinner together." I was distracted by the crooked wall decorations and didn't respond immediately. Jason sounded a bit nervous as he spoke again. "I just want them to meet you. If you're uncomfortable, we can leave. Now." Smiling, I pointed to the wall. "No, it's fine. I just wanted to say your decorating skills are pretty unique." Jason sighed with relief and led me to the dining table, trying to appear casual despite his sweaty palms even from a few meters away. "Come on, put the hat on." His older brother handed me a hat and quickly opened the cake box, accidentally smudging a large piece. "Were you that hungry?" he asked apologetically. I laughed it off. No worries, it doesn't ruin the cake. We lit the candles to a slightly off-key happy birthday song. I made a wish for my first birthday in this new chapter of my life. During the lively meal, my phone on the table began to blink repeatedly. It was Liam. 2 hours earlier, he had sent a picture of an abandoned school entrance. I ignored it, assuming he would leave if I didn't respond. But the latest message was a photo from a rooftop view. Emma, I had a nightmare last night where I did a lot of bad things to you. If I jump from here, will it make up for it? My hands trembled, spilling juice onto my dress. Jason, sitting next to me, saw the message and grabbed some napkins to clean it off. I'll take you there after calling the police. Anxiety gnawed at me. What if something had really happened to Liam? His parents couldn't handle such a loss, no matter how Liam treated me. They had been kind enough to raise me, and I couldn't let any tragedy befall them because of me. Lost in thought, Jason held my hand and spoke softly. Don't worry, the police are quick in these situations. It'll be okay. He squeezed my thumb, noticing how I always picked at my fingers when scared. I didn't even realize it until he reminded me of a Liam. We had hot pot and decided to walk down the stairs because the elevator was too slow. When the voice-activated light went off, I stomped but didn't apply enough force to turn it back on. I looked flustered and was picking at my finger just like now. That's when I realized you're afraid of the dark, he said. I glanced at my hand, understanding why he sang those silly songs so loudly. That little distraction eased my nerves a bit as Jason drove quickly to the location. By the Liam we arrived. Safety cushions were already in place. I approached a police officer. Hi, I'm his sister. What's going on? The officer explained hurriedly. The person in distress is very unstable and has asked to see someone named Emma. You should call your family now. I'm Emma, I responded. Then get up there quickly, he continued. While walking, try to calm him down and get him away from the edge. We need you to cooperate for the rescue. This school has been abandoned for a while, and there are many risks. Be careful yourself. The officer turned to Jason and pointed at me. He's her family. All right then, don't let him see you. He only wants to talk to Emma. Got it? Jason followed silently as I approached Liam with a flashlight. He sensed my presence. You're here, Liam. Come down first. Emma, I dreamed that we got married last night. I finally became successful, but because of a fight on set, someone tied you up overnight, and then you went missing. The police said you fell off a cliff. My throat tightened. It was just a dream. Was it? Liam looked agitated. Why did you suddenly change so much? Why did you stop liking me? You found me annoying and should be happy to be rid of me, right? He exclaimed, turning around. I thought I should be happy too. I've been annoyed by you since we were kids. My parents only paid attention to work, but when you came, everything changed. They started caring about me. Even Grandpa, who loved me the most, only focused on you. He even entrusted your future to me before he died. Emma, I hate when people take what's mine. I hate being forced to do things, and you managed to do both. How could I not hate you? I watched his precarious stance, too scared to respond. After a tense silence, he smirked bitterly. But why did it hurt so much when you said you wouldn't marry me? I saw your picture on Lily's Twitter and realized you never smiled like that around me. Emma, have you been unhappy all these years in my house? I shook my head. You all provided me a home. Your parents were very kind, and Grandpa even more so. That's not what I asked. Were you happy? Liam continued. Someone like me doesn't have the luxury to worry about feelings. Being able to go to school and grow up safely was already a blessing. Liam was silent for a few seconds before rubbing his face in frustration. Looking around, do you remember this place? He asked. Yes, you used to come here to read and forget about meals. I'd bring you food. He shook his head. I didn't really forget the Liam. I just enjoyed the moments you came in. Finally, Liam stepped away from the edge and ran over, gripping my shoulders. Can we start over? I'll cherish you and make it up to you. I interrupted him. Liam? He froze. Although he was a few months older, I had never called him brother. I looked into his eyes. If you believe that dream so much, you've already ruined my life once. Are you going to destroy it again? Liam's whole body went rigid. Pain and confusion flashed across his face before he let go of me and stumbled back, collapsing onto the ground. The police, who had surrounded him, rushed to help him up. Liam looked up, his lips trembling for a moment, but he didn't say anything. In the end, he allowed others to take him away with a numb expression. I stared at the spot where Liam had been standing. The cake was there, no longer recognizable, and the candles still lit. For some reason, my previously calm mindset shattered. All the grievances from my past rushed to my heart, and I collapsed to the ground crying. Someone approached to ask what was wrong, but I dismissed them, throwing a large coat over my head and crying even more freely. Eventually, exhaustion overcame me. Sniffling, I whispered, "Jason, my legs are numb." The person beside me bent down to help me up. After squatting for too long, I couldn't stand and fell into his arms. Jason chuckled. "Emma, are you up to something?" I wrapped my arms around his waist and rubbed my head against his chin. "Jason, now this is up to something." The next second, he responded to my playfulness with action. He lifted my chin, shaking it gently as if admiring me. It's rare to see someone cry so openly, yet still so charming. The accusation faded as we shared a passionate kiss when I was almost out of breath. Jason finally released me, looked around, and smiled. Sure enough, nothing ever goes as planned. The scene I had envisioned was much more romantic. Jason pressed his forehead against mine. "I like you. Want to go on a date?" I pulled back slightly and looked down. "Jason, I'm an orphan. The birthday you celebrated for me today isn't my actual birthday. It's just the date the orphanage recorded when I was admitted. Later, I was adopted." Jason gently massaged the back of my hand, silently absorbing the tale of my childhood. When I concluded, I hesitated to lift my gaze, fearing I might catch a glimpse of pity in his eyes. "Emma," he said, delicately tilting my chin with his fingers, "why are you so likable? Your voice is wonderful. Maybe you should consider starting a podcast." His eyes sparkled with pure affection. Emboldened, I embraced him once more. "Jason, let's date." The outcome of our rooftop night was that I ended up catching a cold. After finishing a competition, Jason found himself with ample freelium and decided to care for me. He visited daily, and although I was nearly recovered, he continued to stay by my side. While Jason was busy cooking, Lily had already confided several juicy details to me. She revealed that her brother had been scheming for a long Liam, using money to bribe her for information about Woomy. I responded, "You really lack resolve, huh?" "That's money we're talking about," Lily insisted, just as my phone was abruptly taken from my hand. Jason glanced at it and said, "Stop talking to that dimwit. Is that any way to speak about your sister?" I took a sip of the porridge he offered and leaned closer. "Did you fall in love with me at first sight?" Another spoonful was passed my way. "Yes," he replied. What was meant to tease me ended up leaving me stunned. "What did I do to catch your eye that day at the boxing gym?" I asked. Jason raised an eyebrow. "Who said it was that day?" "When was it then?" I pressed, leaning in to kiss him. "Can you tell me now?" Jason set down the bowl and returned the kiss, holding the back of my head. After we parted, he whispered, "No, figure it out yourself." Before I could respond, he tapped his watch. "Get dressed. We're heading out." Unlike before, when I stood before Grandpa Henry's grave, this Liam I had nothing to lament. Jason was waiting nearby. I glanced at him and began to chatter to Grandpa about numerous things. Jason, Lily, my new book, and how my life had changed. After more than an hour of conversation, I softly said, "Grandpa, that's all for today. I'll come talk to you again." Rushing to Jason, I said, "Let's go." He ruffled my hair and paused, then approached Grandpa's grave, said something, and swiftly returned. On our way back, I grabbed his hand. "What did you say to Grandpa?" "It's a secret." "When exactly did you fall in love with me?" I teased. Jason replied, "Too many secrets can harm communication. Why don't you try coaxing me? Maybe I'll open up if I'm in the right mood." "How should I coax you?" I asked. Jason leaned into my ear and whispered something that made my cheeks flush. I let go of his hand and quickly ran ahead. "You're blushing already, Emma. You need to toughen up," he remarked. Jason's epilogue ****. Every Liam I see love at first sight on TV, I can't help but scoff. It's merely lust disguised as romance, all dressed up until I met her. Last summer, during those blazing days, Lily called me from school, asking me to bring her something. My unregistered car couldn't pass through the school gate, and the heat was unbearable. I silently cursed Lily all the way to her department when a bright spot caught my attention. At the corner ahead stood a girl in a mint green shirt dress, her ponytail high. One hand shielded her eyes from the sun, while the other held a clear box. She occasionally glanced down, offering a goofy smile at whatever she was holding. Seriously, what's so captivating about that simple craft? I knew my way well, but that day I found myself approaching her. "Hi, could you tell me how to get to the performance department office, Andai?" I asked. She turned her head, her smile brightening her entire face. "Just keep walking straight and turn right ahead. You'll see it." "Thanks," I replied as she waved goodbye to someone else. I watched her excitedly hand the box to a guy, realizing she must have a boyfriend. My first love had ended before it even began. That night, back home, I changed the door code to that day's date, thinking that was the end of our story. This year, my parents began nagging me about studying management. I refused, and they threatened to kick me out. Lily joined in the teasing, so I took away her gaming console in retaliation. She listed my small apartment online for rent, but I didn't care. No one was renting my place anyway. Anyone who tries, I'll kick their ass. Seeing her at the club made my blood boil. "What did you say, Lily?" I demanded. "She wants to rent my place? My crappy apartment has such value." It was rented out quickly. During a friendly match, I showcased all my best moves, unsure if she even noticed. Seeing her reminded me of that first glimpse in mint green. She felt like a refreshing summer rain that made me smile. Reconnecting felt like fate. I couldn't let her slip away, so I pulled Lily aside. "What's her name?" "Emma," Lily responded, looking suspicious. "Why?" "She's renting my place. I need to know if she'll be bringing people over all the Liam." I answered quickly. "No, but she has a crush on someone well-known in our department. She used to live with that guy, Liam. They're probably done now." "How did they live together without being a couple?" "It's complicated." Lily explained Emma and Liam's relationship briefly. I transferred some money to Lily. "Show her the place ASAP, no more questions." Lily jumped. "You're not broke yet?" "I've got enough investments to live off for years," I assured her. Emma eagerly signed the lease, and maybe she liked me too. I tentatively sent her the door code. Later, she replied asking to change it. "Of course, you should change it for your own safety," I responded. I struggled with what to say, finally typing, "You don't remember me," then quickly deleting it, worried she might not remember me at all. I tried again. "Remember that hot day last July 12th when a handsome guy asked you for directions?" Deleted it again, thinking it was too silly. After much deliberation, I sighed and typed, "Emma, my apartment says it's happier staying, so am I." Unable to sleep, I started cleaning downstairs. Although the place was regularly maintained, I wanted it to be perfect for Emma. For the first Liam, I cleaned an entire apartment myself. The next day, I took Lily to a furniture store to help pick out a vanity and some rugs. "Look, this yellow is nice," Lily pointed to a swatch. I selected a mint green one. "This one she'll like." "You're acting weird. Silly, your brother is courting someone. You're getting a sister-in-law," she chirped. "Are you going to confess when?" "Slowly, don't freak her out," I replied gently. Lily covered her mouth. "You freaked me out already." Emma and Lily quickly became close friends. Once again, I was dragged home for another lecture. I caught a glimpse of a message from Emma on Lily's phone. "Coming over today." If my sister were a guy, I'd be suspicious of Emma's loyalty, but I wasn't jealous at all. I replied, "What's up? I want some black pepper pork chops from the cafeteria." I almost texted, "Why don't you ever ask me so sweetly?" but stopped, remembering it was Lily's phone. "Okay," I quickly responded. Interrupted by my mom's nagging, I needed to go. "We're getting a daughter-in-law now," I told Lily, showing her a photo I had secretly taken. Her eyes lit up. "Go. Don't come back until you get her." My parents lived a bit far from her school, so it took some Liam. Although I liked Emma, I wanted to take things slow, fearing I might scare her off. Hearing her talk to Liam made me uneasy. "Lily said Emma liked him for years. Can I be your future?" I asked nervously. She seemed equally anxious but relieved. "I truly like her," I admitted. "Only her. If she needs Liam, I'll wait." I first sensed Emma might like me outside the venue during the state competition. Her ears turned red, but she still smiled shyly. Then I remembered her birthday was approaching. It was Liam to confess, but Liam showed up again, causing trouble. I stood behind the rooftop door, overhearing their miserable conversation. I don't have the right to be picky about life. Being able to study and grow up safely is enough of a blessing. Hearing this made me want to cry for the first Liam. Later, Emma shared her past in detail, and I realized how incredible she was. She didn't need pity. She deserved the best love in the world. At the cemetery, I specifically thanked Grandpa for being part of Emma's difficult childhood and for giving her his unique affection. Henry's epilogue ***. When Tina brought that little girl back, I was happy. People either live for hope or for connections. With such a lovely girl around, Tina might find a reason to get back on track. Emma was exceptionally well behaved. She always smiled at everyone, never asked for anything, and never cried. Even when she had a high fever, she'd get up to prepare milk and cookies for Tina. Wearing clothes several sizes too big, she still cheerfully complimented her aunt's taste. Once, I took her out for fried chicken. She stared at the menu for a long Liam and only ordered fries. My reason, Grandpa, I'll order this because my pocket money is enough to pay you back. Later, when Tina died right in front of Emma, I worried she'd be traumatized, so I contacted a doctor. After the first session, she came out holding my hand. Grandpa, don't worry about me. I'll live well. No need for the doctor. They charge so much money. I'll pay you back when I grow up. My heart melted completely. She was young, but seemed to understand everything. When I brought her home, my son and daughter-in-law initially disagreed about taking her in. If we don't care for Emma, what would happen to her? Go back to the orphanage. If that happened, I wouldn't die in peace. Eventually, my son and his wife relented, seeing how pitiful the girl was, and treated her well. My health held up too, and I lived to see the kids go to college. Everyone knew Emma liked Liam, and actually, Liam liked Emma too. He just didn't realize it himself. Before I passed away, I meddled and made them promise to marry and take care of each other. What a mistake that was. Emma would visit my grave frequently to talk. At first it was okay, but later she cried every Liam. In all those years, I rarely saw her cry, but after marrying Liam, she was so unhappy. All the money spent on Emma since she was little came from my pension. She didn't owe anyone anything and shouldn't have to suffer. I was about to send him a dream when I saw Emma at the gates of hell. I rubbed my eyes, scared I was imagining things. The next moment, my eyes welled up. It was Emma, but her soul was shattered. I asked a colleague to investigate and discovered what she went through that night. I sacrificed my reincarnation to send Emma back. For 4 years, child, Grandpa won't be able to hear your visits to my grave anymore. This Liam, you need to be happy.